in sports. This is Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertsons Safeway.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Grizz Insider right here on the Montana Television Network. Alongside the voice of the Grizz, Riley Corcoran, I'm Kyle Hansen. And Riley, we had a week off for the first time in who knows how long, but how was your break?
It was great, Kyle. It was a mini break for me. I was on a flight to Houston for Thanksgiving Day and watched Grizzly basketball take on the 6th-ranked team in the country, but it was great. It was nice to relax a little bit and be a fan and watch football. How about you? For you, did you enjoy it?
That's all I did, was watch football. It was nice. I went back, saw my parents back in Billings. It was nice to kind of separate for a little bit, take a breather, and then watch a lot of college football. I come from a family of very sad Nebraska Cornhusker fans, and so it was a difficult game watching them in Iowa play. But a lot of FCS playoffs as well, you know, getting a chance to catch up with those. And man, what a first round. It was a lot of fun to watch.
It was a blast, and I'm glad the FCS on display like that, national spotlight, and they show out with some good games. I mean, there were some fantastic finishes that come down. One that people probably won't talk about, Chattanooga beats Austin Peay on a last-second field goal. Sacramento State going on the road and beating North Dakota. That was certainly interesting. And then, of course, the game that we were glued in on, that was the game of the day.
Absolutely.
Delaware, Lafayette, wild game, back and forth, being able to see that. And I didn't know, Kyle, at halftime I was getting ready for the Leopards. Then by the time, now it's the Blue Hens.
And it was the funniest part because I was just like you. I was looking up Lafayette, had no clue they were in Pennsylvania. I was definitely one of those suckers who kind of fell for it a little bit. But yeah, what a game. I had turned it on, and then, you know, Lafayette looked great to start. Their offense was clicking, 28-7, taking that lead. And then, man, Delaware just chipped away. And they're one of those FCS programs that you've heard about and obviously have some history with the Grizz a long time ago. So you kind of assume that they were going to just kind of roll. But, you know, just to have an exciting game like that was a lot of fun. And, you know, I have to pivot, though, to those Hornets. Sacramento State representing the Big Sky, the only team in the conference playing in the first round. And Andy Thompson now has as many playoff wins as his predecessor did, Troy Taylor, who's now at Stanford. How about that?
Wow, that is fascinating when you talk about all the success, right, that Sacramento State has had in years past under Troy Taylor, but it hasn't translated over to the postseason. So for them to do that, as maybe some would say, limping into the playoffs, and they go get a road win. And not only that, Kyle, they look dangerous. You go put up 42 points on a Missouri Valley defense. Now you go on the road to a South Dakota team. There's got to be confidence there. I think the Hornets might be dangerous this next week, too.
I completely agree. What a big win. North Dakota's a good team. They were ranked all year. They're a really good team. It's a team Montana we'll see next year. Very exciting first game. But let's go ahead and pivot to this Delaware-Lafayette game. What a game. Just what was kind of your big takeaway? Look at that. Because Delaware, very beat up, but they still got it done.
Resiliency, right? And I think that this time of year, you see the teams that have been through the fight all year long, and can they stay together in tough times? Well, Delaware at the top of that. Last week, they're in a rivalry game, and last week, I'm talking 2 weeks ago now at this point, Villanova against Delaware. Winner gets a seed. They get blown out in that game. Top two quarterbacks get hurt. You're thinking, okay, Delaware, they don't have much fight coming into the playoffs. They're down 28-7 at halftime. They have every reason to quit, and they didn't. Third-string quarterback, didn't know who was in at running back. I was really impressed by what the Blue Hens were able to do there. They're big up front. I think that they're going to be able to match Montana. How healthy are they going to be? That's going to be our biggest question mark we have to answer.
100%, right. And that's kind of, you're going to look at what they're doing. And it was interesting because they had the touchdown before halftime to make it 28-13. Felt like they were getting a little momentum at that point. Lafayette had the unlucky situation with their quarterback getting hurt as well. But their offense had completely stalled, and Delaware just kept chipping away. Getting in the red zone, some self-inflicted, you know, moves, weren't quite scoring as much as they should. But, man, they never gave up. And that's dangerous because now they're rolling a little bit. I mean, Washington Grizzly Stadium will be a different beast. There's no lying about that. However, but they, you know, catch a little fire like that, you never know. Could be a good game.
Well, and that is something, too, with this format, right? That it's the blessing and the curse. It's great that the Grizzlies got a week off and they got rested, healthy. We're going to talk with Coach Hauck. We're going to talk with A.J. Forbes here momentarily on the health of the team. But at the same time, Kyle, you're also facing a squad that is coming in red hot off of a win. Everybody obviously won last week that they got to move on. So it's a double-edged sword when it comes to that aspect.
Football is back in Missoula. It's nice to have the break, but we're excited to have the playoffs. We have a great show coming your way. Coming up after the break, Riley will catch up with Coach Hauck coming up.
There's more coverage of the Grizzlies online anytime at montanasports.com. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertsons Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider. Hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving out there as we're joined by head coach Bobby Hauck. A lot to celebrate and a lot to be thankful, Coach. First off, how was your Thanksgiving and getting to enjoy the off week, hopefully with some family?
Always a lot to be thankful for around here, certainly, Riley, and I'm thankful I didn't have to go to Houston with you. But yeah, we got a couple of days off, had a great Thanksgiving, and just spent time with family mostly and saw some friends, and it's just good stuff.
It's great to hear. And obviously we were here last week, and it was fun to talk about winning the rivalry game, but not only that, Coach, getting to enjoy it for a little bit, because you guys are so process-oriented, where you're always on to the next, and you're always on to Delaware. We'll get to them in a moment. But how nice was it to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, the fruits of your success last week for a couple of days before turning the page?
It was just outstanding. Just a unique opportunity, in a college football season, to have the chance to just enjoy things, reflect on some things, and take a deep breath. It just doesn't happen very often, and it was awesome, frankly.
Well, it was awesome. Not only that, but then the awards all come out, and the Grizzlies absolutely sweep through it. We'll get to you in a second, because you were named Coach of the Year in the Big Sky. It's, we're up to 2 hands now, I think, here in a moment with all these Coach of the Year awards, Coach. But also your individuals that were honored. You guys sweep the awards. Clifton McDowell, Eli Gilman, Alex Gubner, all individual awards. 14 on the first or second team for the Grizz. So just your thoughts on how you guys were able to be very well represented, and your guys with a lot of hard work.
Obviously excited for those guys, but when you're garnering those awards, it tends to mean the team's doing pretty well. So to the victor go the spoils, to a degree, and happy for those young men, but happy for our football team to be able to produce that.
Well, certainly happy for them, because this is a team that isn't really worried about individual success. So we'll honor them behind the scenes as this team gets ready for a playoff run. How about Coach of the Year for you? Winning that now for the 4th time in the Big Sky. You obviously won it one time at UNLV as well. But for you and just the rest of your coaching staff, maybe time to reflect. It was really cool at the banquet. All of your assistant coaches get up there, and they've got a little bit of a spiel. But I was reflecting when they were all going up there, Coach, on just the work that you guys have all done behind the scenes. And I feel when you win a Coach of the Year that it's also a nice reflection of the people that work around you every day.
Well, it is. It's absolutely a team award. None of those things come without the team having great success and doing a great job. So our coaches have done a term of magnificent job this year, and I'm proud of their efforts. I'm proud of our team's efforts, and nice to be recognized.
And certainly one of those that's going to be recognized, A.J. Forbes. He'll be talking with Kyle Hansen after the break. And now, Coach, let's transition. Before we get to your opponent, Delaware, and the crazy game that they played on Saturday, you've been in this spot before with getting a first-round bye, handling it, and making sure your team's ready to go for the first game up. So when do you guys transition? Take us through just the schedule for last week and when you started turning the page and getting ready to get back to the gridiron here this Saturday.
Well, like we said a minute ago, it's nice to have the week without a game so you can freshen up your team. So I'm a firm believer after, we started August 1st, and these guys have gone really hard, players and coaches, and I just think it's really productive for them to have some time off. So we gave the guys a few days off. It was great. We had good practice last week. We lifted, just, kind of kept everything in a rhythm, and now we've got to crank it back up. But I think we're on track. It's a formula that's worked for us in the past.
Well, certainly, and now the Grizzlies will welcome in a longtime old foe in the Delaware Blue Hens. Coming in here, Coach, before we get to your thoughts on Delaware, how about the game itself against Lafayette? I mean, the term circus comes to mind. There were 7 turnovers in the game, multiple injuries back and forth, momentum swings, and a second-half comeback. Your thoughts as you watch the game between your potential opponents?
Well, there were a lot of crazy games on Saturday, and Delaware Lafayette was one of them. It was a wild game. I did watch it back and forth between a lot of other games, but watched it, kind of crazy. I think Delaware was definitely the better team, and they found a way to come back from a long way down to win that game.
They were down 28-7 at one point. Lafayette, it seemed like they were in control. Delaware Storms back at home, but now they got to come on the road across the country to take on these Montana Grizzlies. And final one for you, Coach, just themes maybe from years past or games that stand out when playing a CAA opponent. 4 teams from the CAA are left. I think it's fascinating that only 4 conferences are left in the FCS playoffs, and you get to take on a CAA foe.
Yeah, not totally shocked about the 4-conference deal, because I think those are the 4 best conferences probably. We've played a lot of CAA teams over the years with mixed results. They have good football there. Delaware is a program that's got a lot of history and is a fairly storied program in FCS football, and this iteration of it looks no different to me. I think it'll be a tall test to get these guys.
Well, they're a top 10 opponent. They come into Washington Grizzly Stadium on Saturday at 7 o'clock, and the Grizzly Insider continues on the other side of the break.
Get social with Grizzly fans and follow MTN Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Welcome back to the Grizz Insider, and I'm excited to be joined by senior captain AJ Forbes, coming off the bye week. AJ, it's great to see you.
Great to see you too, man.
Absolutely. First of all, let's start with it. How was the week off after the Brawl of the Wild win? You guys got a little bit of a breather heading into playoff play.
Yeah, it's always nice getting a nice little bye week going into the playoffs. It's a great time to refresh and really focus in on what we need to look forward to going into the playoffs, and it's a nice little break to have.
Absolutely. Well, and you guys kind of mentioned that too throughout the season, because it's such a long, grueling season. It caps off with that emotional game, and you've seen this before too, right? 2 years ago, you guys had the bye, and then obviously last year had to play in the first round. So, did it feel a little similar to that 2021 season going into that break? Now knowing that you get that break, and then it's kind of all business going forward.
Yeah, it did. It felt similar to what it felt like 2 years ago. I've been in a position, luckily, where I've felt this bye week before, and it's just a great opportunity to really, guys are getting healthy, guys are focusing in on what they need to do to really be prepared for this next run that we have going on here.
Absolutely. So for you guys, obviously the season ends, the postseason awards roll in, and man, oh man, the Montana Grizzlies just cleaned house when it came to some of that stuff. Second team for yourself, obviously a lot of first team guys, a lot of guys winning Player of the Year awards. So what was it like, kind of seeing your teammates and yourself kind of, be recognized for the season you guys had?
No, yeah, it's awesome. We obviously have a great team as seen by the awards we won this year. Super proud of everyone who got all the accolades that they deserve. This is a great team, and I'm lucky enough to go against guys like Gov, who won the Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Me and him have been going at it for the last 3 years, and lucky to be able to compete with him and everybody else who received awards this year. Super proud of those guys.
Talk about iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah.
Between the two of you, I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Well, so for you, AJ, obviously, the offense has been a big talking point. Really, the whole team has. But like the offense, with Cliff under center and the way things have kind of trended for you guys, what's it been like, as a captain on this team and the center, things kind of run through you? What's it been like watching this offense just kind of grow and grow over the weeks to kind of culminate to what you guys did a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the season we were trying to really find our identity. We were rotating through quarterbacks. We had Sam rotating in, Cliff rotating in. Kaylee obviously has gotten into the mix. But I really think after the NIU loss, we really hunkered down and really committed to trying to find what our identity is. And I think we've been able to find that, obviously. And with the position that I'm in, being a senior captain, I try to take as much responsibility of our performance as possible. Whether it's good or bad, I want to make sure that we are going in the right direction. And I think halfway through the season, we were able to do that.
Finding that buy-in is kind of like the biggest thing, right? Especially when you are trying to lead and you guys are trying to find your identity. At what moment did you maybe notice it kind of click, and what was it like seeing the guys buy in? Because you can go one of two ways, and everybody on this team bought in, and look where you are now. Yeah,
going back to the NAU game, I think we all had a real come to Jesus moment, and I think it was just after that game, it was all about self-reflection. It was all about what does each individual player need to do to really get better and help this team moving forward, and we're lucky enough that happened, and now we're in the position that we are now.
Absolutely. So AJ, you obviously got here in the summer of 2020. This is your senior year now, and just how special has this been? Your final year here, all the accolades you've gotten, the team has gotten, but just the team success too. Just what's it been like in your final campaign here?
Man, I can't be more grateful to the University of Montana, the coaches, the community than I am right now. This town and this school has given me everything that I've ever wanted in a college football experience. They came to me when I needed them most, and I'm super lucky that I ended up where I am today. And as soon as I got here, I wanted to make sure that I was able to leave an impact on this community and this school. Hopefully I've been able to do that.
You have certainly done that for sure, and it's not done yet, right? So
yeah.
Obviously the Delaware Blue Hens, what a mascot name, by the way,
right.
coming into town. And what a game between them and Lafayette.
Yeah.
So just what do you know about them at all, and did you get a chance to watch the game?
Yeah, I absolutely was able to watch the game. I was watching it with my fiance yesterday, and it was hilarious because she watches it like a fan, and I'm watching it like I'm watching film. I'm breaking down, what fronts they run, what blitzes they run on third down, and all that stuff. But I watched the game. It was a crazy game, like you said. Really excited to really hunker down, starting today, really getting into the film, looking at what they are, preparing for the game on Saturday.
Absolutely. Playoff football in Missoula, there's nothing like it. AJ, good luck the rest of the way, and thanks for your time.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Coming up, Riley will rejoin me as we look ahead to the Blue Hens coming up.
Everybody's is coming. Dickinson throws it up for 6, and there's Guernsey! Scott Guernsey.
Take coverage of the Grizz with you. Download our app for your favorite mobile device today. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Welcome back to the Grizz Insider. The Grizz are getting set for the Fighting Blue Hens from Delaware. I know we're going to have fun talking about this all week, Kyle. It's the second time they're meeting on the gridiron, and the first one was absolutely wild. 30 years ago, our resident historian here, Greg Heintzman, is absolutely incredible what he has in the archives, and this matchup against Delaware was something to be talked about.
We're blessed here at MTN to have Greg here, first of all. In the archive system we have, I mean, we cannot emphasize this. I mean, we've talked about records that the Grizz have broken this year. We've been able to break out some of that footage, but this game is wild. 30 years ago, and it's funny because when you saw the bracket, some Grizz fans, it rung a little bit of a bell. Delaware, and they start thinking about this game. 49-48, 30 years ago, in just a shootout in the first round of the 1AA playoffs at the time. Sophomore Dave Dickinson, Matt Wells, Guernsey. Like, you hear all these names that like we've heard about for years afterwards, and it's just like here they are about to meet again, and kind of a new era, but like kind of a similar feel at the same time.
Well, it's amazing going back down memory lane, and those are some legends when you're talking about the Grizz. Let's get into the box score a little bit, right? 97 points, 1,100 yards were in the game, 8 turnovers, which I thought was very reminiscent of Delaware's game this last week against Lafayette, where there were turnovers back and forth. 8 turnovers in the game, and Kyle also 8 degrees at kickoff. I think it'll be a little bit warmer this week.
I look at that and my heart stops for a second because I'm like, please, and then immediately check the weather app because we have those now, like 30 years ago, and now we could check that. But it's funny because you look at that game and what a shootout, right? And that's 2 years obviously before the Grizz go on to win the national championship. They're kind of emerging as this power at the 1AA level, and here they are with this year's team, a team that had some bumps along the way, but everybody keeps comparing them to 08. Well, here's another look back at memory lane, as you mentioned, that it kind of shows where this team is at right now, and man, it's special. And it's looking back at this game is just crazy. I mean, there was 3 touchdowns and 4 plays in the fourth quarter as they're going back and forth. The Grizz lose because they miss an extra point, of all things. Like, could you imagine Bobby Hauck's Grizzlies having a special teams error, losing a game like that? It just seems so weird.
It seems something that couldn't even happen, right? 41 points scored in the fourth quarter. 27 of them scored in the final 3 minutes, especially that sequence that you were talking about. And a Grizz legend, and Andy Larson, was one that missed the extra point. And of course, he had a pretty big field goal later on in his career. So he made up for it. But you're right. I don't know if we're going to get that wild of a game on Saturday, but at the same time, it's been great to just see the history that Delaware has, too, leading into this match.
It's one of the most fun things about this, right? Because the history for the Grizzlies is so rich and deep, and going back to memory lane. I mean, it's been fun looking at the 08 comparisons with this team, right? And then you go back to even 1993. Like, this stuff stretches back so far, and just how it's cool seeing like these teams who haven't seen each other in 30 years, and so much has changed. And obviously, Delaware has now produced a U.S. president. You know what I mean? It's just so, when you look at it, it's things you wouldn't think about in 1993, which, by the way, this game was played when I was 3.5 months old. So even better. So just because I like to do that, I'm going to get mine someday. Don't worry. But it's fun seeing how like things have changed, in 30 years. But here we are to kick off the playoffs again.
Well, that's what makes it so much fun. These matchups, cross country, right? You don't get them a lot. Grizz and the Big Sky against the CAA. Only 4 conferences are left in the FCS playoffs. We've got a big time clash on Saturday in Missoula, and we'll wrap up the show next here on the Grizz Insider.
There's more coverage of the Grizzlies online anytime at montanasports.com. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider. Riley, second round of the FCS playoffs outside of Montana and Delaware. What's caught your eye?
Well, obviously that matchup in Bozeman. I think that's the matchup of the second round, right? North Dakota State against Montana State. Is it going to be the Bison that finally get knocked out of the playoffs, or can the Cats continue on with the nation's longest home winning streak? Don't sleep on that SoCon matchup, too. Furman against Chattanooga. I think that could be interesting, and obviously the winner of the Grizz Delaware would take on the winner of that next weekend.
Absolutely. Well, the road to Frisco runs through Washington Grizzly Stadium, and kickoff is at 7 p.m. on Saturday right here in Missoula. You can listen to Riley on the Grizzly Radio Network, and you can see all of your highlights right here on MTN. Have a great weekend, everyone.